Good evening and thank you for keeping it TV 47. You are just in time for Body Garage with I, Sheila Chelangat. Now last week the world commemorated the World Cancer Day on the 4th of February. And so tonight we keep the conversation alive as we now delve into some of the mental wellness and stigma associated with cancer. And so tonight with me in studio is Dr. Maureen Wanjiku, who is a psychologist. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm fine.
You look lovely tonight.
Thank you.
All right. And also on set to just get a deep dive understanding of how mental wellness can be affected and the stigma, how it can affect somebody. We do have with us in studio brave cancer warriors and champions, as well as caregivers, CHPs, even an oncologist nurse on set to dive deeper into this conversation. And so you do not want to miss this, and you can keep your feedback coming in and some of your questions, and they will be dealt with. So first things first, Dr.
Yeah.
What is mental wellness and how can it affect somebody who has been diagnosed with cancer?
Nice. Okay, for mental wellness generally is a state of well-being where each person is able to realize their potential. They are able to deal with stressors every day. Mm-hmm. They are able to work productively, and they are able to make a contribution. Mm-hmm. That is mental wellness. Mm-hmm. But now when it comes to cancer patients or cancer survivors, it can really affect their mental wellness or their psychological well-being. Mm-hmm. In that, someone might get anxiety. I have a fear of I might die. Mm-hmm. I have a fear of my illness progressing. Mm-hmm. I have a fear of the stigma around me. People are, walking on eggshells around me. Mm-hmm. I might get depressed. Mm-hmm. I might have body image issues, due to the treatment and the surgeries. Mm-hmm. I might feel isolated, mm-hmm. Just diving on to the depression aspect. Mm-hmm. So it really does affect their
mental well-being. And when you look at the statistics, what do they look like in Kenya, being that you have interacted with many patients? Yeah. And what are some of the common signs that they present to you? Then you will realize that their mental well-being has been affected.
Okay. So current statistics right now is that 1 person out of every 10 has a mental illness. Mm-hmm. But now when we go to cancer patients or cancer survivors, it's 1 out of 4 mm-hmm. that may get a mental illness. Mm-hmm. So most common issues with mental health is either a change in behavior, mm-hmm. a change in their thinking pattern, or a change in their moods. Mm-hmm. So it's either they start isolating, they don't want to associate with friends and family, mm-hmm. they start neglecting even personal hygiene, mm-hmm. especially with depression.
Okay.
Or they could have a shift in their thinking patterns, mm-hmm. Having more negative thinking patterns. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And we are joined by a lovely audience, and ningependa kuanza na wewe Eunice. Labda tu tueleze, the moment ulipata the diagnosis, kwanza ulihisi vipi, and did you get any stress after it since being diagnosed with cancer?
My name is Eunice Wambua. Mm-hmm. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I'm doing my 9th year now, and I'm still on active treatment. Mm-hmm. When I got the cancer diagnosis, it shattered my life because the small knowledge that I had about cancer, nilikuwa nafikiria nitakufa. Mm-hmm. So it was one among the worst things that happened. The cancer diagnosis was one among the worst things that happened into my life. Mm-hmm. And it was really hard on me.
It was hard on you. Okay, let's tusikize kutoka kwako Joan K. Pia wewe, did you undergo any stress after ulipata diagnosis yako?
Vile nilidiagnosewa na hiyo kansa ya mapua, nilikuwa na shida mingi na masitikiko mingi sana, nikijua maybe ndakufa na ndaacha watoto wangu wakiwa wadogo. Mm-hmm. Juu mimi ndio nilikuwa mama mlezi. Mm-hmm. Na nikaendelea na matibabu, nikapata courage ya kutibiwa. Ndio ninaendelea na matibabu.
Mm-hmm. Asante sana kwa kutuambia your experience, and labda ningependa tu kusikiza kutoka Joan, the other Joan. You are a survivor, and I'm wondering, unaweza keti mami, was there a point where you felt as though now it was you to blame for getting cancer?
Asante sana. Kwa majina naitwa Joan Wangari na nimekuwa na pancreatic cancer for 13 years. Mimi nilidiagoniziwa nikiwa mdogo sana. Nilikuwa katikati ya miaka 20, hapo hivyo katikati to 30. So ilikuwa ngumu sana kwangu kwa sababu mimi niliona na kwa familia yetu mimi peke yake ndio nilikuwa na hiyo cancer. So nilisikia huzuni sana kwa sababu ndio nilikuwa in my reproductive age. Nilikuwa na mtoto mdogo wa firstborn, alikuwa 3 years. So niliafektiwa sana kwa sababu nilishindwa kwa nini mimi nikiwa mdogo hivi. So nilisuffer psychologically, emotionally, na nikakuwa niko chini sana kwa sababu nilikuwa naenda pale hospitali napata watu ni wazee, wengine wako ile wamemaliza hata kulea. Nauliza Mungu kwa nini na mimi bado ni mdogo. Alafu ile saratani si zile tunajua, ni saratani ambayo ni yenye haijulikani sana. So mimi nilijihisi ya kwamba ni mimi peke yangu. So nilisuffer, but eventually niliweza kuovercome na nikaweza kusonga mbele.
Ukaweza kusonga mbele. When we listen to them, it's more of, psychological, emotional. They were affected emotionally. And so that brings me to my question. Why is it that then some of them would feel that I'm guilty for having cancer, that I actually contributed to getting cancer? Because, some of the causes are lifestyle causes. So how then do you deal with someone who presents this guilt?
A lot of cancer patients or cancer survivors may experience shame, guilt, thinking, why me? Why not any other person? It's not like malaria, I'll get it from a mosquito. So you just have those constant questions. Especially I've had I was the only one in my family who had cancer. So did I do something wrong to deserve this? And you might ask yourself so many questions. And how to cope with those thoughts. If I advocate for therapy a lot. So if this cancer patient has access to psychological first aid, has access to seeing, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, they'll be able to be taken through the process of, dealing with these thoughts, building more self-esteem, dealing with the shame and guilt that comes with it.
Yeah. I'd want to bring you in, Caro. We're talking about the guilt that comes, with cancer and the shame that comes with it. You are a counselor. How often do you find, people, when they present, these signs of they're guilty that they have cancer, and then how do you then, get them out of that eggshell that they are in?
I lost my mom to cancer 5 years ago, and it brought me a lot. By then, we didn't have any group. I didn't know any group. I didn't know anyone around who has cancer. So it was me and my family. And through that, some people left us, some family members left us, and we had to find a way of surviving. I took my mom to India. I was in India for 10 months, alone with my mom. Her face was, let me say, she had to be, we came back after her face after the surgery, and what I went through made me come back and learnt a lot, because I was alone. No one took me through the mental aspect of it. No one took me through counseling and everything. But when I came back and learned about that, I decided that I'm going to enter in the cancer space, so that these other families, when I get a cancer patient who comes to me, we walk the journey together, we do counseling. And through that, I came and joined a group that deals with fitness, which is good for mental wellness. I think that Tari can talk about it. Whereby you get the cancer patients, maybe some have been done mastectomy, some have been done some surgeries, so that when they come in this space of physical fitness, they work out. Once you get out of your house, you come in the gym, you work out, maybe you do skipping, you do tummy trimmers, you do weightlifting, at least to get your body and you get a change, you feel relaxed. So by that, I formed a group whereby I'm a member of Skuma Wellness, and in the Skuma Wellness, we do have space for the cancer patients. They come in for workout for free. We give them free classes, so they come in, work out, so they get some relief. You find somebody has left the house very stressed, comes in, works out, at least by the time anarudi,
They're feeling better.
they're feeling better. Yes.
Okay. At this point, I want to bring you in, Samuel. You are an oncology nurse, and you on a daily basis, you interact with some of the cancer patients. Does this, because it's more emotional and psychological, do these negative thoughts affect the quality of their treatment for some of them?
When a patient is brought to us for chemotherapy or cancer treatment, it's not just about the treatment. It entails a lot to do with the holistic approach when you are dealing with that patient. For instance, treatment, it just deals with the physical bit of it. But when it comes to psychological care or mental care, it's very paramount for that person even to do the follow-up of the treatment and complete the schedule of the treatment as prescribed. When it comes to treatment of cancer, it's very costly. A lot of them suffer financial toxicity. It reaches a point whereby patient doesn't even know where they'll get the money for that treatment. So as caregivers, it reaches a point whereby we are also human beings.
Yes.
We get affected to this, whereby, for sure, you have a patient who can get cured if that person gets the treatment on time. But due to other aspects surrounding the treatment, you find they get delayed, and along the way, the disease sometimes even progresses.
Okay.
There are patients who come also for chemotherapy or treatment, not for curative purposes, but for palliative purposes, whereby for sure you are not giving this treatment to cure, but to suppress the progression of the disease and also to suppress the symptoms of the disease. So you find at that time, so many questions comes in from the family members and even from the patient. Am I going to be okay? And that's the first question the patient will ask.
That is the first question, that
yes.
Will I be okay?
Will I be okay? Because they know very well. They have been told by the oncologist or to the prescription, your disease has progressed from this stage to this disease.
Yes.
This stage. So it requires the intervention of the multidisciplinary team, whereby an oncologist comes in, psychologist comes in, nutritionist comes in, and even sometimes the physiotherapist. For instance, you may have somebody, maybe if it's a cancer of a limb or as a cancer which is affecting physical functioning of that patient, you may need a physiotherapist to come in and help that person regain the function of the body. So
you raise quite an important aspect. Thank you very much, Samuel, of, will I be okay? And Daktari, I would like you to answer that after our short commercial break. When we will be back, we'll talk more on this particular issue. But first, let's take a look at the myths and facts of the day.
Strong people don't get depressed after a cancer diagnosis. It's very common for cancer patients to experience depression, anxiety, and other mental health challenges due to the stress of diagnosis and treatment. Talking about your feelings will make things worse. Sharing emotions with loved ones, therapists, or support groups can be a healthy coping mechanism and improve mental well-being.
All right, welcome back. This is Body Garage with I, Sheila Chelangat, and on this episode we are focusing on the mental wellness and stigma associated with cancer. With me is Dr. Maureen Wanjiku, as well as some of our cancer patients, warriors, champions, caregivers, and even nurses and counselors here on set. And Daktari, before the break, Samuel raised the issue of sometimes patients go to them and say, will I be okay? So for someone who's already in that state, as a psychologist, how do you come in then?
That's a very good question. So as a psychologist, I would try and restructure those negative thoughts that they're having. Because at times in life, there are things that we can control and there are things that are just beyond us. Especially in now cancer patients or cancer survivors, their journey through this illness is something that, apart from the medication they're given or the treatment they have, is beyond us. So now we need to help them see that there are things that they can control and there are things that are beyond their control. So now helping them focus on the thoughts that they can control, and now the questions that am I okay is something that is beyond them.
And it's truly a disheartening statement. Will I be okay? And I'm wondering, so then would you be with this patient throughout their journey, or is there a point where you'd be like, now here is where I stop?
I feel like it's very important for us as psychologists to be with these patients through their journey, because it doesn't get easier. At times it gets harder. And even through this journey, they are accustomed to getting PTSD. The journey itself is traumatic. So helping this patient or this person with cancer go through this journey and offering that support to them is a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's now, let's even leave now the personal. There's always now the stigma from the community. So how does that come in? What is stigma in the first place, and how does it affect someone who's diagnosed with cancer?
Stigma is just a misconception of something. For example, even when we are talking about mental wellness, it has its stigma just by the name mental wellness. And with cancer, trust you me, there are people who still think cancer is contagious. So there's still that lack of awareness with so many people out there. And for people living with cancer, they will feel stigmatized by people. If I disclose I have cancer, people will start looking at me funny. People will start being more careful with what they say around me or how they behave around me. That will make me feel some type of way. Even if I'm in the work environment and I disclose to my colleagues or even my boss that I have cancer, they might feel, they may not be productive anymore. So there's so much stigma from the outside
that comes with it. And I'd like to bring you in, Philip. Is there a point where you felt, now the society is judging me, I need not to speak? And how did you now get over it and get to the point where now you're speaking about your experience?
One of the major thing that rings in their mind is there a specific food that I ate, then it triggered this cancer. Now, if there's a specific food, is there a specific food that if I eat daily to be able to suppress this cancer? And they tend to get advice from friends, from neighbors, which others is very good, others cannot treat them. So you'll find patients that they really want something that they can get that cure. They really want to eat something. You'll find them having issues after chemotherapy, having issues after radiotherapy, there's poor appetite. When we talk about mental illness, even when you don't have cancer, you have depression, you have anxiety, it affects your food intake. And majority of the cancer patients, they have got that fear. If I take, let's say if I take chapati, I read somewhere online, it will cause cancer. If I take sugar, I've heard from somebody that cancer cell spread very fast when you use sugar. So not only cancer affect them, but malnutrition comes in, and there's that food aversion because of the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy. Our biggest area of coming in is to reassure them that despite the diagnosis, there's a way they can eat healthy, balanced diet and be in a better position to fight off that specific condition that they have. Thank you.
Okay, let me bring in Derek. We are talking about stigma, and I'm wondering, the moment where you got perhaps your diagnosis, were you at a point where you're like, I don't want to share this with anybody because of how society then would view you?
Okay, thank you very much. So I was diagnosed with Kaposi sarcoma, and having received my diagnosis at a fairly young age, I found myself grappling with a lot of questions, especially about my future, how the treatment was gonna be, how we are going to raise funds. And at first I was not ready to talk about it. I think I started talking about it when now we had to ask people to, we started fundraising. So when you are asking for money, you have to explain your story. So that's when I started talking about it and sharing my story. But one thing about Cancerland is that when you get there, anxiety becomes your best friend. It stays with you during treatment, never leaves you after treatment. So a slight headache, you like, is it in the brain? A backache, is it coming back? So having gone through 2 recurrences, 18 chemotherapies, radiotherapy, 3 surgeries, and it kept on coming back. So anytime I felt like some slight change in my body, I would be like, is it now coming back in this way? How I'm going to manage, with the funds. And the side effects, one of the major side effects I went through was hair loss. And it's evident. Most people will ask you at a young age, how are you coping up with cancer? They say that cancer is for certain people with practicing, a particular lifestyle. So there is that anxiety that comes with that, and that stress and stigma. So I managed to come up with coping strategies to help me, come up with that, to manage that stigma. And one of the ways I was talking about it, I started writing my stories. I have a blog where I usually talk about my story, my experience in the chemo room during treatment. And I started sharing my story and owning it. And practicing mindfulness, which is basically focusing on the moment right now, and letting tomorrow take care of itself. So I think reading books, philosophy books, stoicism, they have really helped me to, focus on live today and let tomorrow take care of itself. So with that, I've really managed to not think about it. It's a non-issue. In fact, even right now, we have some complications, but I know we're still going through the same process. And I think I found a way of managing the stigma. Yeah, thank you.
All right. And, I would also want to bring in Praxidis to just tell us now, what was your, experience like? Because now we have a society and sometimes the side effects can be seen. Was there a point where you felt like, no, I do not want to even engage with society at this point?
Sometimes people tend to find out about this if you start approaching them to seek for support, especially because the resources that are needed for treatment sometimes can be overwhelming. And for me, lucky enough, through my work, I didn't have that issue a lot. And when it comes to society and just trying to explain to people what you're going through, for me, I think it was more so my close family. And I remember when I broke news to my brother-in-law, and he told me that you're dead.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I think for me at that point, I was trying to stay positive. I didn't want anything that is going to put me down. Because I had, of course, gone through 2 weeks of waiting for my results. When I cried, I broke down. I asked myself so many questions. I asked, who am I going to leave my children with? And I had reached a point where I was like, I think I've cried enough. I'm ready to face this. So when that negative energy came, I was ready and I just wanted to put it off. So I just cut the phone disconnected, and I was like, this is not the energy I want. Yeah. So when it comes to society, I think it's also, the way Doc said, it's about lack of understanding or awareness. Because you find like many people say, you know, when you get cancer, you're dead. But they don't know that there are people out there who have been treated and they are okay. They don't know that when you are diagnosed in good time, you can get better. So lack of knowledge or lack of understanding is one of the biggest things that is really causing stigma in our society, and that is what we need to break.
A very important point that she says, you know, sometimes it's lack of understanding. And when we're speaking to Derek and as well as Praxidis, you hear that, you know, you're dead, and then you Google something, and then there's the anxiety of, now I'm getting another headache, is it another type of cancer? So how then would you advise somebody who's undergoing such a journey to stay positive, even when things do not look positive?
I like what one of them said about being mindful. It's very powerful. You know, in life, there are things that happened to us in the past. We can't take back time. And again, we also don't know what will happen in the future. We don't know what will happen 2 hours from now. But we do have control over right now.
Yes.
So it's just being mindful and staying in the present. And let tomorrow come for itself.
And let tomorrow come for itself. I'd want to bring in Florence. You know, Dr. is saying tomorrow would come for itself, and sometimes it looks like that tomorrow is not, you know, coming in, is not really there. So perhaps, Tuambi, how did you cope with, you know, the stigma that comes with cancer?
I did not want to disclose it at first, because even the doctors, when after they broke the news to me, there's some doctors who are telling me not to tell my kids.
Yes.
Some were telling me, just share with them. So I was in there between. Should I tell them? Should I not tell them? It reached a point I could just lock myself. I just took some days off. I could lock myself in my room. When they saw me, I was just in toilet, back to my room. I used to cry. I cried. My sister told me, some were discussing, oh, Flo is going to die. So with all that, my daughter could tell me, my aunt Sis was saying, hey, this cancer might kill you. And you know that time, I have cancer. My mom also has cancer, breast cancer. So I was worse off. My mom could ask, how is Flo? They could, Flo is, she's not doing so good. So my mom could want to know much how I'm doing.
Yes.
But day by day, I was not even getting much better. But at some point, I just woke up and said, let tomorrow take care of itself.
Let tomorrow take care
I'm going to fight this war. And it's that point, I just woke up and decided I'm going to work, because by then I just decided not even to go to work. I'm going to work, I'm going to do what the doctor told me, and I'm going to come a victor in this. That's when I took, because there before I could not even open my phone.
Yes.
I used to put my phone off. My bosses, my friends, because I did not know any other person I could share with, apart from my kids.
Yes.
So it was only me and my kids. I did not want even people at work to know what I was going through, but I came out and disclosed.
And I'm glad to see you, you know, bigger, better, stronger, and you know, you've gone past it, have you not?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So when we will, thank you very much for sharing your experience, Florence. When we will be back, we will now delve deeper into who can you tell, and then how can, you know, some of the caregivers help you who is undergoing a cancer diagnosis and a treatment as well. Do not go too far. Keep it TV 47. This is Body Garage. Welcome back, and thank you for keeping it TV 47 and of course Body Garage, where on this episode we are focusing on mental wellness as well as stigma associated with cancer. With me is Dr. Maureen Wanjiku, as well as an audience who are comprised of cancer survivors, warriors, patients, even nutritionists, oncologists and counselors as well. And so before the break, we did have Florence, who told us that, you know, at some point doctors were telling her should not even share that she has cancer with her kids.
Yeah.
And so who do you advise once someone gets a diagnosis? Would you advise for them, who do you advise for them to tell first that they have cancer, and then how do they move on from there?
Okay. I think where the doctors were coming from is where you might tell someone and their reaction affects you times two. The way they'll start looking at you, the way they'll start acting around you. But again, family support is very important.
Yes.
We cannot do this by ourselves. This journey alone is exhausting. So we need that family support. We need support from our friends, you know, people who actually understand this process and are ready to be there through this process.
And at this point, Dr. Ari, let me bring in Leshao. If you could pass down the mic to her. You are on active treatment. Could you tell us your experience with, you know, stigma, being on active treatment? Has it affected you and even yourself in general? Any stress that you got from first getting the diagnosis and now you're on treatment? How is it?
Wakati nilipatikana na kansa ya jicho, hakuna mtu alikuwa naamini kama ni kansa ya jicho imenipata. But mimi mwenyewe vile niliambiwa ni kansa, nilienda on denial for 2 years.
Yes.
Kansa ilipatikana ikiwa stage 1, nikakuwa on denial for 2 years. Nikienda kurudi nikaambiwa kansa stage 3B. So hapo ndio nilikubali. Sasa nilijipeleka mimi mwenyewe, nikaenda nikafanyiwa operation na nikatolewa jicho na nikakubali. By the way, nikienda kufanyiwa operation sikujua kama nitapona. I was so prepared. I'm going to die. Because kitu cha kwanza ni cancer, kitu cha pili ni cancer stage 4.
Yes.
Stage 3B. So na sijaiona mtu yote amesurvive cancer. So kwa community kuna umuhimu sana watu wahimizwe kuhusu maneno ya cancer na wajue kansa inaweza tibiwa na inaweza pona, na kansa inaweza shika kiungo chochote cha mwili. Na baada ya kutibiwa kansa mpaka saizi nachukuanga dawa KNH, ile kitu imeniumiza sana. Navigation kwa community imekuwa ngumu. Because kama ni community wale hawajasoma sana, wakisikia jina kansa, hata mzee anakuondokea, familia inakuondokea, na wakuondokea ati kwa sababu hawakupendi. Wanakuondokea kwa sababu watatumia resources zao zote na mwisho ukufe.
Yes.
So they believe utatibiwa na ukufe.
Yes.
So inakuwa ngumu. But kwa sababu tumejifunza na tumetembea na groups na cancer survivors, tumekuwa navigated enough ya kuweza kunavigate wale wengine na kuwaambia hata kama ni ngumu, push. Songa mbele. Kwa sababu hiyo uoga pia ndio inafanya mtu unakuwa down. By the way, cancer iui on my side. Kitu inaua ni mental, ile
it's the mental
set your mind.
Okay, asante sana Leshao kwa hilo. Ningependa ku bring you in Mary. From everyone is, you know, the emotional torture that comes with it. How did you navigate that?
My name is Mary Mwangi, spine and breast cancer driver. This is my 7th and 9th year, and I'm happy to be here. So when I was diagnosed, it was not easy because initially I was misdiagnosed. It was diagnosed as TB, spine TB, and I was put on treatment for 11 months. So even when it was diagnosed, it was cancer, spine cancer, I was sure even this one will not work. And that was a torture in my mind, knowing that you are taking treatment, but you are not getting well. Another thing which also bring mental challenge to cancer patient is even how the news are broken.
Yes.
Because I remember my first diagnosis, the doctor was like, now we are on another level. And so I didn't know what
Which
that
level?
yeah, which
Yes.
level. You know that one also builds your anxiety. You don't know which level you are. The second diagnosis that was blessed. Also the doctors, when I went for my results, I was sure when it comes to the community, there is that toxic positivity, whereby everyone tells you, you'll be well, there is nothing, the results will be negative, there is nothing. Only for you to go and find the results are positive.
Yes.
And that one also throws you off the balance. So as Lesha was said, that it is important for the community, for the society to be educated about cancer, because even there, some of them feel even saying the word cancer is like a taboo.
Yes.
You don't have to say. The other day we went to visit a patient, and the father was like, you people don't make cancer a callers.
Yes.
You know, and this is because they don't have that education.
Thank you very much. I'd like for you to hold onto your thoughts, Hapo. Dr. She says that, you know, once you're told that there's, you know, cancer, your friends, everyone is telling you you'll be fine. She says it's toxic positivity. And sometimes I would say it's because we do not really know how to talk to someone who has cancer. You know, if a friend is breaking that news to you, how then should I communicate with them so that they feel I'm with them in that journey and I'm not just being falsely positive?
You know, at times as human beings, we might be short of words to tell such people. Cancer survivors, or even people who are going through loss itself, let's say. And we don't know, us just being there is support enough. We don't need to say anything. We don't need to, you know, act differently. Our support is just being there for them through this journey. Yeah, and at times we might say the wrong thing unknowingly, and we don't know how much it might affect, you know, this person.
Okay. Imelda, I'd love to bring you in. You're a counselor, and we are also on this note of toxic positivity. How should I talk to somebody? Would you advise me to, you know, talk to someone?
Cancer kwa society tumeiweka ni kama ni death sentence. So mtu anakuanga na woga sana. So wakati unakutana na mtu kama huyu, number one, amesha athirika kimawazo. Inabidi kwamba umemwongelesha na umetembea naye katika hii safari, ndio akubali kwamba akona saratani. Na kwa wakati mwingi tunapokuwa kwa hizi support group, hatukujangi tu alafu tunaambia mtu we uko na we don't point it out that uko na cancer. Tunaambianga uko sawa, umepona, tutatembea na wewe na utakuwa sawa. Na ukipata mtu ambaye amekuja ameambiwa ako stage 4 na ameshakuwa na woga, namwambia wachana na maneno ya stage. Sisi vile umekuja hapa tunakuchukua vile ulivyo, tutatembea na wewe safari na tunaamini kwamba utafanya nini? Utapona.
In your experience, did anyone reaching out make you feel better? When you know someone reached out to you, be like, hey Joanne, how are you feeling today? Did it make you feel better?
Yes. Like when I was diagnosed, in those days, people were stigmatized and sometimes people will not talk about it. But I had a very supportive system, that is my family, that walked me through the journey. And I know, and I remember when they took me through the journey, I felt better. Sometimes I have family who will call, I'll have friends, like in church, I got a lot of support from my church. They prayed for me. They told me, now that you're sick, we are going to work with you. They used to come to visit me. I remember one day I was washing clothes, I was doing my house chores, and some member from my church came in. And I was very happy because I saw there was these people who cares for me. I felt better, and I had that fighting spirit, knowing that there are people who are here to support me.
Yes. Okay, Daktari, most of them have gone through this journey, being in a group or, you know, in a support group. And I'm wondering, how do these support groups really work? And how does it impact somebody who's on a cancer journey?
Nice. Being in a support group, you see they're all having similar experiences. Apart from the support they're getting from family and friends, no one really understands what they're going through. No, I can't say, I understand how you're feeling. I really don't.
Yes.
But being in that space where they have similar people with the same thoughts, you know, the same experiences, they're able to, oh, kumbe si mimi peke yangu. You know, I can relate with some of my peers.
Yes.
And it goes a long way.
And those are long gone. Okay, ningependa kukujumuisha Jacqueline. Once ulipata diagnosis yako, je, umejiunga na any support group?
Nimejiunga na support group. Hao ndo wamekuwa wakinipatia moyo. Juu kutoka niende hospitali niambiwe niko stage 3. Na hao ndo wamekuwa wakinipatia support. Nikajisikia mimi ni mtu. Hata nikienda hospitali watu wananiuliza umeleta nani? Nawaambia mimi ndo patient, wanasema hapana si wewe. So niko na furaha. Na kitu ingine challenge yenye napitia ni kutoka Oktoba mpaka saa hii juu nilikuwa na shida ya pesa kufanya hizo CT scan, MRI. So after nimeanza kwenda hospitali nianze treatment tena nasikia mashine hazifanyi. Tena hiyo ndio kitu ingine tena nirudisha moyo wangu chini. Naanza kujiuliza maswali juu ile stage niliambiwa na saa hii mpaka saa hii nimekaa. Tu daktari aliniambia atanipigia simu, nikarudi huko tena wakaniambia watanipigia nisijali.
Okay, asante sana, and I do hope that you'd get the help that you need. Let me push this conversation to the side of caregivers, to you, Jackie N. Do caregivers also need support groups? Because you are caring for someone who's undergoing a different journey from yourself. It affects you mentally sometimes? Do you guys have support groups also?
Me being a CHP, niko na hiyo, ninatembelea wagonjwa wengi kwa manyumba zao, na tunahitaji pia kukua na hiyo support group, although already tuko nayo. Sababu sio rahisi kutembelea hao wagonjwa na kutembea nao kuwaonyesha kwamba wahisi kama sisi, kama kuonyesha kwamba maisha ni kawaida. Kwa sababu kama hii ugonjwa ya saratani, watu wengi huwa walijua kwamba ugonjwa ya kansa ni ugonjwa ya matajiri. So saa hizi ugonjwa imekuja imekuwa ni ya kila mtu. Ambapo so ukienda kwa nyumba ya patient, unampata yeye anakuuliza, na kweli Jackie nitapona? Unamwambia yeye juu anaamini mimi ni daktari. Kwanza vile serikali ilisema sisi ndio level 1 hospital CHPs. So akikuona anafurahi. Anaona kwanza kweli Jackie nitapona. Unamwambia yes, utapona. Na mbona Mwangi aliuza gari yake akauza plot ndio akapona? Mimi sina kitu yoyote. So a lot has to be done. Awareness, to create an awareness, tujitume, tuongeleshe community. Since I said my community is my business. Mi huamkia community, kuwaelimisha, kuongelesha na kuwapatia moyo na kuwaonyesha mahali wataenda, kama ni hospitali, kama ni hizo chemotherapies, kama ni kupimwa. Mama wengine hawajajua ya kwamba kupimwa ni muhimu. Mi take my time na wafundisha na waambia kupimwa cervical cancer. Tuache anayeficha uchi naye hazai. Sababu this thing is not private.
I love that statement. Asante sana, Jackie. And in 30 seconds, Daktari, is, the treatment of cancer a whole team's effort?
Yes, I think it should be a whole team effort. The oncologist, the nurses, psychologists, psychiatrists, just give this person holistic care. So that just, even for them to have adherence to treatment, they need all the support they can get, as well as the caregivers. It's not easy for them as well.
Okay. Asante sana, Daktari, for gracing our show today and being lovely and giving us your insights on some of the ways that we could keep well, even when someone is undergoing a journey, the cancer journey. And thank you very much to you, my audience, for the experiences and for sharing and some of the tips that you used to, you used to cope in the cancer journey, and we are very much grateful for you. And thank you very much for you back at home for keeping it TV 47 on this episode that we were delving into mental wellness as well as stigma in the society associated with cancer. Do stay for more in our subsequent episodes, but thank you for keeping it TV 47 tonight. Good night.